the rebuild that they're going through, getting the young guys, making sure they're keeping guys to be mentors for him, like Miguel Cabrera. He's been a solid mentor, a solid player throughout the years. I am Garrett.
I am Brandon.
We are here to talk about GOATs.
So we're going to talk about, discuss, debate the greatest of all time,
Barry Sanders,
Damian Tomlinson.
You're listening to the Goat Herders podcast, where we herd the greatest of all time.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Goat Herders podcast. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Garrett. And today we're going to be talking about my Detroit Tigers and how their season's going to look, what their team is shaping up as, and the moves they made, and what they need to do to what they need to do to be successful this year. So I'm going to have some things I'm going to be talking about. Brandon's going to have some questions for me, and we're going to go from there.
Sounds good to me.
So do you have a start off question? Do you want me to jump in with a couple of things first?
I think let's start with the biggest question every Detroit Tigers fan is going to have is, what's it going to take for the Tigers to win the Central and then the World Series this year?
Well, coming off of last year, it was a rough year. We knew that going into last year, it was going to be rebuilding. Going into this year, it has a similar vibe of rebuilding. The Tigers have a top 5 farm system right now. According to all of the analytics, they've got a lot of big names, a lot of young players, maybe not known through everyone, but definitely in the farm systems. One that made the team because of Rule 5 was Akil Baddoo, who had a phenomenal spring training. He went 13 for 40. He batted .325 with 5 home runs, led the team with 5 home runs. The Tigers picked him up from the Twins, and he's going to be their starting center fielder for a lot of the season. And if he puts up numbers like he put up in spring training, it's going to be phenomenal. Some other names that they've got right now, Isaac Paredes, he's in the minors, and Zach Short, 2 big up and coming infielders right there. They have a phenomenal young starting pitchers. A lot of them are on the active roster just due to a couple injuries. They've got some young guys, some young familiar names. Matthew Boyd, who had a phenomenal game yesterday with opening day. He went 5 2/3 innings scoreless and just pitched fantastic in the snow. But to your question now, I'll come back to your question here, is what they need to do to be a contender to win is they need to get quality starts out of their starters to keep their starting pitchers healthy, and to take some pressure off the bullpen, because that's been a weakness in past years. They have done some things to bulk it up, but if they can get those quality starts, that's 5 innings of 3 runs or less, I believe is what a quality start qualifies as. They will be able to take some pressure off the bullpen, and if they can not get into huge slumps in their batting order, that's another big thing, is that if they can keep their hitters hitting and win the games that they're supposed to win and not blow games late. They did try to do that last night with their closer coming in and giving up 2 runs right away in the 9th, but they had a 3-run lead, so that was nice. But they ended up getting the win last night. So starting pitching and staying out of slumps is going to be a big part towards them making the playoffs.
All right, so the other question that I think everybody's going to be asking this year is, what do you think about the manager? I know there's been some scandal around him in the past. What are your takes on this? And is he the right guy for the job?
Give me 2 seconds. I currently blanked on who their manager is. AJ Hinch, right? Yes, AJ Hinch. Sorry. I did my studying. I really don't have many feelings about him. I haven't heard or seen much about him. I think it'll take this year to see how he's doing. I know he has, I don't know. I don't actually know much to say about him.
Well, he's got a big shoes to fill. Ron Gardenhire is one of the greats, around a long time. One of the great Twins managers as well. So there's
Right.
definitely a lot to step into and show that he can do here in Detroit.
Yeah, and they've gone through a lot of big names over the past couple of years. Jim Leland took them to some World Series. Alan Trammell was an all-star shortstop for the Tigers back in the day. And I think they've just been trying to find the right fit, because these were lots of big names that just weren't able to get this team pointed in the right direction. And I think one thing Hinch is doing, and I don't know how much of it's on him or how much of it's on ownership, but a lot of the rebuild that they're going through, getting the young guys, making sure they're keeping guys to be mentors for him, like Miguel Cabrera. He's been a solid mentor, a solid player throughout the years. He's had injuries that he's played through. He's had injuries that have taken him out of games. But he's always been someone that's been a great attitude, a positive attitude for the team. Another one is Jonathan Scoop, that they picked up last year, I want to say, or 2 years ago. I want to say it was last year, but he's another getting to be an older player, but definitely experienced, a lot of good talent there, and someone that's going to be another great influence for them. So I think Hinch is putting the players together that need to be put together to develop the relationships and to develop the skills needed to have a successful program.
You mentioned Miguel Cabrera. Do you have anything to add about him? He's kind of the elderly statesman here, and
so he's had some up and down years in the past couple of years. There was one point last year where I was just like, before last year, that was like, they need to trade him. They need to get rid of that contract just because he's seemed to be on the downslope. But then he comes back and surprises everyone. He didn't have a phenomenal spring training. He only had 2 home runs, batted .225, but he's one that comes up with clutch hits when you need him to, and he's smart at the plate. He had 11 walks and only, or sorry, I said that backwards. He only had 1 walk and 11 strikeouts towards the top of the team, but he came out yesterday in the snow. Like I said, hit a home run, 2-run home run, which decided the game. It was early on in the game, but that's just who he is. He's going to come out and he's going to play, and he's going to be a good leader. So I think that he's going to be an integral part of that lineup throughout this year.
So kind of related to what you just talked about, do you have any additional thoughts about opening day and the Tigers' first game?
It was interesting, to say the least. I'm happy that they're able to have fans in the stadium, being able to watch games. That's a huge part of the game, is being there, having people the experience. That's so exciting. I'm hoping to get to a couple games this year, possibly either up in Cleveland or even all the way up in Detroit. But they played fantastic. Their pitching was phenomenal right up until the closer came in. He gave us a scare, which I feel like is just a common thing to happen for the Tigers closers. Like, that's just always something that they've had, is that even all the way back to Todd Jones, when he set that record for the team, I'm trying to remember if it was 43 saves. Like, his games, he come in and you didn't know what you were going to get. Like, if they had a 2-run lead, he's going to give up 1 run. If they had a 3-run lead, he's going to give up 2 runs. Like, that's just always how it's been with Tigers closers, is that they're going to give up runs. And so that's always been something that's kept you on the edge of the seat. But like I said, Matthew Boyd pitched fantastic. Bryce Garcia I want to say Brian Garcia closed it out. There are 2 other relievers that came in and threw an inning's worth of work. Daniel Norris and Cisnero both came in and threw an inning of work to get a hold and didn't give up any runs. The team combined for 5 strikeouts. Matthew Boyd only had 2 of those. So the relief pitchers were pretty dominant as well. So that was a great thing to see in the first game. Rough around the edges it was actually Gregory Soto that got the close. But he kept us on our toes. So we'll see how that position develops throughout the year, if they have some competition, because they do have lots of closers on the team. Brian Garcia has closed in the past. Gregory Soto, he used to close for the Cubs. Joey Menez, who is now in their minors right now, he did a lot of the closer work last year. But he was just a hard thrower. So hopefully some work down in the minors gets his accuracy back on track, and you could see him in that position later on in the year as well.
I know they've talked a lot about this. Do you think this idea and the concept of the closer just needs to go away? We just need to put our best reliever out there, um, no matter who it happens to be, or whatever the best matchup is. What are your thoughts on that?
That's usually what you want from your closer. You want that to be your best reliever. You want that to be the guy that's going to come in and slam the door. There's been lots of, you think of the most notable closers, Mariano Rivera, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, the Dodgers pitcher. He was huge in the playoffs when they went back and when they won it a couple years ago, and he was throwing like they'd bring him in the seventh to finish the game.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of going to your concept is that it's not just the ninth inning, but it was bringing in your best reliever. But the thing with that is that those pitchers aren't used to throwing multiple innings, multiple days in a row. So you do want to have those breaks. You want to have those limitations on which relievers are throwing how many pitchers, and because that really affects what their workout is, what their routine is, on how many innings they're going, how many pitches they're throwing. Because you get a 40 pitch save on Monday, he's probably not coming back out Tuesday, because that's a long game for them, and that you throw them a lot early and they're not going to be able to finish the year strong, and they're going to lose some stuff throughout the weeks. So I would disagree with that. I would say you want to keep a consistent closer for the most part. Obviously, after he's thrown a couple days in a row, like then you're going to come back with your best reliever, your best matchup when he's not available. But that's what you want out of closer is your best reliever.
Anything you want to add? I know you've got some notes here.
Yeah. So my favorite player on the Tigers, I actually watched him pitch in the Twin Cities against Minnesota, his first outing, Michael Fulmer. He's had some up and downs over the past couple of years, and this year has been pretty interesting for him. He hasn't had his best stuff. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Last year, he didn't pitch, I don't think, at all last year. And this year, he was fighting for a spot in the starting rotation, and I don't think that he's in the starting rotation as of right now. He's actually in the bullpen, which his comments on that were he wants to be a starter. He wants to be out there at the beginning of games, but if it's best for the team for him to be a reliever, that's where he'll play. And I don't know him personally, but like that's what you want to hear from a player is you want to hear that he's going to be doing what's best for the team. And he's a great pitcher. I love his stuff. I love the attitude he brings. And I hope that he's a successful long relief pitcher that can do some great things. So a couple other comments that I had to make. Torkelson was another big player that they've had. And he's a big player in their farm system. He was looking to win a spot on the roster and was not able to. He went like 1 for 27. I think he only had 1 hit all spring training. And his comments on it were is that it was a great learning experience. He figured out what he needs to work on. And but his fielding was phenomenal. Like he was top 3 of their infielders, and he will hopefully be coming up at some point over the course of the year to be playing. Just got to get that back, get his head straight, and get back in the groove and the hitting. Another name is
great baseball name.
Go ahead.
He's got a great baseball name, Torkelson.
Yeah, Torkelson. Yeah.
Torque it.
Another one, when they made their starting pitching rotation, they were aware that Spencer Turnbull was not going to be with them. He is out with COVID right now, so they knew he was going to be out for the first couple weeks of the season. So he's not going to be in that rotation right now as far as the starting pitchers go. Those 5 rounded out to be Matthew Boyd, Julio Teheran, who has been, or Teheran, I think it's Teheran, he pitched for the Braves. He was pretty big with them. Skubal, Jose Urena, and Casey Mize. Like those names are going to be the 5 in the starting 5 rotation. When Turnbull comes back, they talked about doing a 6-man rotation just to keep arms fresh. But in order to do that, they would have to either limit their bench or limit their relievers as far as who's on the bench if you bring in a 6th starting pitcher. So that's something that they'll have to decide here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, which Tigers player would you expect to break out this year?
I'm honestly hoping to see Badu break out. He was phenomenal in spring training. He's someone they got in the Rule 5 draft from the Twins, and I hope that he breaks out and shows the Twins that they should have kept him, because that's a big young player that's got a lot of potential, a lot of great things that we can see out of him. I'd also like to see, while he's again not on the, or no, he is, sorry, Victor Reyes is a name that's been on my radar. He's one of their outfielders. I got to see him play when I went down there for spring training a couple years ago. And he's been working back and forth between minor leagues and the pros. And he's someone that's got a spot to earn and show that he can be playing in the majors. So 2 outfielders that I'm really looking forward to playing. Jacoby Jones, another one. He missed a lot of time because he got hit in the face last year or 2 years ago. I keep mixing my years because this whole COVID thing. I don't remember when that happened, but he broke his face on a fastball right to the face, and lucky to be still playing, but he's another one that I'd like to see break out. So pretty much their entire outfield, hoping to look to see them do some great things.
Yeah. Well, you're making me a Tigers fan just listening to you talk. All right, one last question. Over and under, how many wins do you say the Tigers will have? What's your prediction on that?
With them still having the vibe of a rebuild this year, and looking to next year and the year after to be their huge years, I'm hoping for an over 500. So I'm predicting 93 wins on the season, which would be a pretty successful year, which could even win the division. It just depends on how they play, if they run into any injuries, how COVID affects them, and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with a young talent like they've got, if they can come out and play and click and get into some streaks, they could do some good damage.
All right, 93 wins. I'll be marking that down and checking in with you in October.
All right. I say that now, I feel like it's really high, but I don't know.
Well, I think that's all we got for you today. So this is the Goat Herders podcast. Episode 3, all about the opening day of the Detroit Tigers.
You're Brandon, and I'm Garrett.